most pivotal election of our lifetimes. As we get started, we'd love to get a sense of where folks are joining from. You can drop it in the chat. My name is Allison Chin. I'm Sierra Club's president, and I'll be our host tonight. Throughout this evening, we'll be using the comments section of whatever platform you're joining from. You can test it out now by dropping in where you're joining us from. I'm joining tonight from Los Angeles, on land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tatavian, Serrano, Keats, and Chumash peoples. I honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. Before we introduce our speakers, I'm going to explain the technology we're using this evening. This is a live stream town hall, which means you can all hear me and the other speakers, but we won't be able to hear you. If you have questions that come up during the presentation, please chat them into the comments section of whatever platform you're on, and we'll come back to as many questions as possible during the Q&A portion of the call. One thing we want to level set is just how important it is to us that this be a space held with dignity and respect. We do not tolerate harassment or bullying behavior in the comments section or in the questions we respond to. Okay, now let's introduce our panelists. Welcome, Sarah, Susanna, Sarah, and Jen. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm excited for the conversation. To kick us off, I'd like you to introduce yourselves. Sarah Barton, let's start with you.
Hi, all. My name is Sarah Burton. I am the Sierra Club's National Political Director, coming to you tonight from Northern Virginia, and I am very excited for this conversation. Let me hand it over to my friend and co-lead, Susanna.
Thanks, Sarah. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Susanna Reyes, and I am the Sierra Club Political Team co-lead. I'm coming to you from beautiful Los Angeles, and I'm so excited to talk to you tonight about what Sierra Club Independent Action has been doing to elect Kamala Harris. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Susanna. My name is Sarah Corcoran, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Sierra Club Pennsylvania chapter. I'm coming to you from Northeast Pennsylvania today, and I have some good news and anecdotes about voters in the key state of Pennsylvania. And I get to pass it to Jen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Hensley. I'm the State Lobbying and Advocacy Director at the Sierra Club. I'm joining from Chicago, and I get to talk about the importance of state legislatures and engaging in down-ballot elections. Thanks for being here.
What a fantastic lineup we have tonight. Susanna, it was great to go canvassing with you last weekend to get out the vote. You've been working with our volunteers from across the country for months now, working tirelessly to get out the vote and elect a climate champion. Can you tell us about what the team has been up to?
Absolutely. It is. Hi, everyone. We have so many people on this call. Some of you are new to the Sierra Club, and some of you have been volunteering with us for a long time. I can't wait to tell you what we've been doing so far and how you can join us in this critical last week to ensure every single Harris voter turns out to vote. Our volunteers have been writing letters to infrequent voters in the critical battleground states of Michigan and Pennsylvania. We've focused on voters in those states who care about climate and electing a president who will protect our environment, but who are at risk of staying home at this election. So our amazing volunteers, over 7,575 of you signed up to write 200,400 letters. This is huge. We know from research on voter behavior that receiving a handwritten, hand-addressed letter can have a measurable impact on whether someone will go out to vote. So that's 200,400 voters in the key states of Michigan and Pennsylvania who received a personal message urging them to get out and vote. But we're not stopping there. Our send dates for the letters was yesterday, October 29. So now we're pivoted to the phones. Our volunteers are now calling voters in those same states to ensure that every person exercises their right to vote. This election will be so close, and every single vote matters. After months of hard work, so much will come down to what we do in these last few days. So, if you've been volunteering with us and writing letters, thank you. If you're ready to join us for this last push on the phones, we're dropping 2 links into the chat, one for Michigan and one for Pennsylvania. The only way Harris will win is if she turns out more voters than Trump. It all comes down to what we can do in the next few days. We need to go all out and do everything we can to help make that happen. Please join us and sign up for a shift by using the links in the chat. We know this election will be close, and there is a lot of uncertainty about what Trump will do after Election Day. We're going to talk through what we do know on this call, hear from the folks on the ground in Pennsylvania, and look forward to the future, no matter the outcome.
Thanks, Susanna. That's so encouraging. Shifting over to Pennsylvania. We've known for a while that Pennsylvania could be the key state of this election, and we've been talking to voters across the state. Sarah, will you give us an update on what you're seeing on the ground?
Absolutely. Like everywhere, voters here are concerned about the potential impact of another Trump presidency. We know what Trump will do if he's elected because he's told us. Alongside risks to the foundation of our democracy and basic rights, we'll be facing threats to core environmental protections and drilling on public lands. For example, here in Pennsylvania, a threat we're facing looks like a proposed LNG facility in the Northeast. LNG stands for liquefied natural gas, which is just a pretty way of saying fracked gas. The planned 200-mile rail route for this dirty and dangerous substance would run from here to a New Jersey export terminal through many populated towns. Last year, we were able to suspend the Trump-era rule that made this plan possible. But if he gets back in, there's a real risk of this being overturned. The only way to defeat him is through collective action. Each of us doing our small part to turn the tide, and volunteers here are answering the call. Hundreds of Sierra Club Pennsylvania volunteers have been talking to voters about races up and down the ticket. And what we're hearing is not only a determination to defeat Trump, but also a hope for a better future. One voter told me, "Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the climate crisis and the threat Trump poses to my values. But by taking action through voting and by encouraging and helping others to vote, I'm reminded that millions of other people are also working towards a better future. We're divided when we're made to feel alone and helpless. Let's not allow that narrative to drive us further apart when there's so much good to celebrate and be optimistic about." Pennsylvanians are tenacious, and our volunteers have embodied that by showing up for local canvassing events, fundraising initiatives, letter writing parties, and voter registration tables across the state. So far, we've had 200,100 touches with voters, and we're continuing that momentum in the last few days before the election. Huge shout out to Robin, Bill, Mark, Trish, Hannah, Scott, Melissa, and so many others who've stepped up their game this election season to write over 1,500 letters during our weekly letter writing parties here in Pennsylvania, and who coordinated canvassing events and fundraisers in the Philadelphia area. And thank you to all the volunteers who made a difference across the country. While we are laser focused on Election Day here in Pennsylvania, I know many of you also want to know what's next. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen Hensley, our State Lobbying and Advocacy Director, to talk about what's next in states.
Thanks so much, Sarah, and thank you so much to all of our volunteers who are active and doing great work in Pennsylvania. As Sarah mentioned, I'm Jen Hensley, and I work with our chapters across the country on their state-level legislative goals. While we're all motivated, or frankly, a little terrified by what may happen at the top of the ticket, elections down ballot are just as critical. The Biden-Harris administration passed the biggest climate package in history, but that work really started and will continue in state legislatures across the country. Today, 24 states, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C. have 100% clean energy goals, which means for us, over half of the U.S. population lives in a place with a plan to tackle one of the biggest contributors to the climate crisis. We all know elections have consequences, but they have consequences up and down the ticket. Our chapters have made endorsements in a number of state-level races. Those races will determine how ambitious our work will be at the state level. For example, in 2022, we were able to flip a couple of seats with pro-environment candidates in Minnesota, which set the stage for us to pass our 100% clean energy bill and a transportation package that centers climate pollution as a key metric for transportation planning. In 2022, we also gained a pro-environment majority in both chambers of the Michigan legislature, which allowed us to move their 100% clean energy bill last year. All of that work at the state level contributed to the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act later in 2022, that big climate package I just referred to. In 2024, we want to build upon and continue that trend. First, we have to defend the pro-environment majorities in Minnesota and Michigan. And secondarily, but just as importantly, we want to take the opportunity to gain pro-environment majorities at the state level in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Wisconsin. And those margins are razor thin at the state level. We have probably seen, or you have probably seen, I know I have, roughly 90 million polls and heard countless times that the race is going to be decided in the margins. And I want to say to you, this is where you are so critical. You are the most effective messenger to the people you know. All of us are more likely to listen to our friends, our family, and our neighbors because we know them. I want to encourage you to lean into those networks. Reach out to just 2 or 3 people to share information and encourage them to vote and to vote early. You do not have to be a political expert to make an impact. Your story, your why in this election may be the catalyst for someone to cast their vote. And I want to give you a personal example of impact. In September, my nephew turned 18. We talked about the excitement of starting college, moving away from home, but we also talked about voting for the first time. We talked about the issues he cared about, and maybe not surprisingly, climate change and choice were at the top of his list. He had a pretty good sense of where the presidential candidates were on those issues, but he had not realized the impact that his choices on down ballot races might have when it came to Congress and the state legislature. So we spent some time, we looked up the candidates that would be on his ballot. We reviewed the endorsements that our chapter made, the recommendations for state and local races, and we put together a voting plan. As he and I have checked in this fall on football scores and tailgating and frankly, just making sure he's eating, I've been able to touch base to make sure he got registered and is still on course to vote. And I'm proud to say he is registered, and I'm optimistic he's going to cast his first ballot this fall on Election Day. And as I say this, I just want to acknowledge I'm incredibly humbled by the fact that I have the trust and respect of my nephew to help him as he navigates casting his first ballot. But I also hope that it illustrates to you that you have similar opportunities to engage people in your networks. I want to, again, thank you for being here this evening. And if you happen to be in Detroit on Election Day, come out and join me and our chapter folks. We're going to be out canvassing for one of our Ledge champs, Jamie Churches. And I hope you can join us there. But if not, please think about joining one of our phone banks because every vote counts. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah Burton, who's going to tell you more about what we can expect from this election.
Thank you, Jen. That is a really, really great story about your nephew. Thank you for sharing that. Well, there's a lot of uncertainty about this election outcome and what will come after. There are some things we know to be true. First, like Jen said, every single vote counts. If you haven't voted yet, please make your plan to vote. Go to sierraclubindependentaction.org to see the candidates we've endorsed, and check out your local Sierra Club chapter for state and local endorsements. Second, we may not know the outcome of the election on election day. In fact, we probably won't. This is normal. It takes time to count every vote and certify election results. That is an expected part of the process and is democracy at work. It's common to see early Republican votes coming in, creating a map that looks red on election night and changes to blue over time. Smaller, more rural precincts tend to vote Republican and are often quicker to tabulate the vote compared to larger urban areas, which are usually more blue and may take longer to finalize their vote count. This shift to blue also occurs as absentee, provisional ballots, and vote by mail ballots are tabulated. Some states, including Pennsylvania, do not allow mail-in ballots to be opened until election day, which means counting those results will take some time. Typically, Democrats were more likely to vote by these methods, mail-in voting, voting early, and Republicans were more likely to vote in person on election day. However, there were fewer absentee ballots requested overall this year, and Republicans are voting by mail in higher numbers. So this gap may not be as significant this year. Regardless, this shift is a normal part of the process, but it is also an opportunity for bad MAGA actors to claim election interference. So please be patient as we wait to hear results from trusted sources. The unfortunate reality is that we're living in a world where Trump and MAGA Republicans are embracing voter intimidation and outright lies about election outcomes. He is going to try to take advantage of the delay in knowing the election outcome to create chaos, to seed uncertainty and mistrust. But we are ready. We're hoping for the best, but we have a plan for the worst. If Trump lies about the election outcome, we will be prepared. Sierra Club is working with partners across the movement to prepare for any scenario, a Trump win, a Harris win, or a contested outcome. We'll be holding another town hall the day after the election, November 6th, to share a concrete plan of response to whatever is unfolding. You can sign up now to be a part of that live stream by using the RSVP link we're dropping into the chat. And another very practical way you can help us make sure we're ready to continue the fight is by donating to Sierra Club Independent Action by going to sc.org/donate SCIA. We know if Harris wins, we will have the opportunity to take the best of the Biden-Harris administration and push to make it even better. We will call for transformative legislation that would expand the Inflation Reduction Act, creating historic opportunities to fight climate change, protect our environment, create good, clean energy jobs. What happens this election will matter for decades to come. And if Trump wins, we are prepared to fight back against his extreme anti-environment agenda and to defend and build on the progress we've made over the last 4 years. All the progress our movement has made over the last 4 years will not be erased by one climate denier in the White House. The transition away from dirty fossil fuels to affordable clean energy is already underway, and we won't go back. We will challenge Trump's dangerous proposals in court, keep the pressure on banks and big corporations to clean up their act, and mobilize our 64 chapters and millions of members and volunteers nationwide to continue to make progress at the state and local level. No matter how this election progresses, together we will be a force of nature as we fight for our future. Back to you, Allison.
Thanks. Thank you, Sarah. We all deserve to have a voice in the decisions that impact our lives, and voting is such an important part of this. I'm glad you brought up the disinformation we're seeing that's running rampant right now. This has been a growing concern for quite a few years as the country has become more polarized and algorithms keep us in our separate universes online. The hate-filled lies that the far right are spreading are deeply disturbing. Unsurprisingly, we've seen a huge spike in mis and disinformation around the election, and we're expecting that to increase over the next few days and weeks. It's never been more important for us to be thinking really seriously about how each of us can defend the truth and amplify accurate information. That's why tonight, Sierra Club's launching a new initiative called Climate Truth Tellers. This is a volunteer team that will be ready to engage across social media by elevating accurate information on voting, election results, climate change, and more. A huge percentage of people now get their news from social media, and all of us are influenced by what our friends post. This is a key place we need to be engaging to shape public understanding. The news is going to be moving very quickly, and we need to be able to respond and get truth out there. So I'm excited to be the first to invite all of you to join this team. You can click on the link that's being dropped in the chat to sign up for sc.org/truth. It's actually going to be very straightforward. As the election approaches and as things develop in the next days after, team members will receive a few high priority posts to comment on and share. You'll be supported every step of the way. You'll be connected with the Sierra Club community and provide training on effective communication skills to boost the truth on social media. You don't need to be a tech wizard to do this. You don't need to be an influencer or have a lot of friends. You just need access to at least one social media platform and to be ready to help amplify a clear, unified message so that together we can shift the narrative. If you're looking for a quick but impactful way to engage over the next few weeks to defend our democracy and defend the truth, I hope you consider joining this team. So go to the link in the chat to join. Again, it's sc.org/truth. I know I'll be signing up. Well, now we're going to shift over to our Q&A portion of the program. We've been seeing so many good questions come through the chat. We won't be able to get to all of them tonight, but we'll do our best to get to as many as possible. We're going to start with a question that I think everyone here, panelists and participants, have an answer on. There is so much at stake right now. How are folks combating the anxiety? Folks, as we have our panelists answer, feel free to add your own remedies into the comments section of the platform you're on. Yeah, I know for myself, just thinking about the anxiety, it's one of the reasons I like to canvas and phone bank. I really like to talk to people to try and figure out what their connection is, with the changes that they're seeking. So I know that's top of mind for me. Sarah Burton, how about yourself?
This is a great question, especially if you're like me, someone who's prone to over analyzing polls and reading too many news stories. Just like you said, Allison, talking to voters, it's the only way. If you're feeling anxious, you will feel so much better talking to real people, making a connection, hearing about the issues they care about. If you want to join us on a phone bank, we would love to see you. We can drop that link in the chat again. I know everyone else on this panel probably has other ideas too. Susanna?
You might be on mute.
I was thinking anxiety can be a powerful motivating factor as well. And so I just go out there, do something, really help with this election, use up all my energy, and really keep my eyes on the prize. How about you, Sarah?
Well, I like to think long term. So I'm looking at 2025 already and thinking about the things that I know are going to be coming up and can make a difference on, instead of wallowing in the things that I don't quite know at this point in time. So Yeah, I'm looking forward to 2025 and some of the changes that we're going to be able to make. How about you, Jen?
Honestly, I'm a runner, so I run a lot of miles to deal with my anxiety. So I'll start with saying I run a lot of miles. But after that, I think like a lot of people, it's making those connections with people. So I go canvassing, and like I mentioned, I will be out starting this weekend. Well, I've been out before, but I will be out with our Michigan chapter in House District 27, just outside Detroit, knocking on doors and making sure that we get one of our climate champions back up into the state legislature. And I think about every race that I work on down ballot is going to lift the boat of the Harris Walls ticket. And so I'm going to add a few more miles to my shoes this weekend.
Sarah, want to take this first?
Could you say that? Did everyone else hear the question? I think you cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. The elephant in the room. What if Trump wins?
Yeah, a great question. Here's what I could say. Well, we have been busy contacting voters. We have also been deep in scenario planning, including the scenario of if Trump wins. During Trump's first term, the Sierra Club fought back relentlessly to defend against his administration's attacks on climate progress, on clean air and water. Our legal team played a key role in watchdogging Trump's political appointees and bringing to light their ties to polluting industries through FOIA requests and litigation. We filed more than 300 lawsuits against Trump administration, holding off the worst of his attempts to gut bedrock environmental protections. Our Beyond Coal campaign continued to be successful in driving the transition from coal to clean energy in spite of Trump, retiring coal plants actually at an even faster pace than under the Obama administration. And our movement now is bigger, bolder, more diverse than it's ever been. That's not going to stop. When we come together, we are stronger than Donald Trump. We are prepared to use every tool at our disposal to defend our democracy and critical environmental protections and continue to build towards the clean energy future that we need.
Thanks, Sarah. Let's see. Next question. Are there any climate candidates outside of the presidential race that Sierra Club is going all in to help win?
I'll take that. I'll just say at the chapter level, we've endorsed more than 800 candidates. And I just mentioned a little bit ago, I'm going to be out in Michigan working for one of our state ledge champs. We're doing this all across the country. So if you have a burning desire to get out there and deal with that anxiety, we probably have an endorsed candidate that's a climate champ that you can work on. So I would encourage you to take a look at those chapter endorsements, because again, we have 800 candidates that are all helping to contribute to clean air, clean water, and addressing the climate crisis.
Thanks. Oh, Susanna, looks like you're trying to say something too.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, so Angela's chapter alone has over 86 candidates that were endorsed. Down ballot race is very important. We know the water board races, community college districts, utility commissions. Those are offices, elected offices that impact the lives of our community. So it's really important, as Jen mentioned earlier, look at those down ballot races. Don't forget to vote for those, because those are the people who are decision makers in our daily lives in our communities.
Yeah, I know in Pennsylvania, we've also endorsed over 70 candidates. All of our endorsements are up on our website. So you can find them through the link that was shared. And as Susanna was saying, it is incredibly important to vote in local elections, because they're the folks that are in your backyard making the decisions on your day-to-day life. So make sure to do your research on your local candidates as well.
Anyone want to take that one?
Allison, you care to repeat the question again?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Is it too late to make a difference in this election?
No, these days are critical. Please, please talk to your family and friends. Take them to the polls with you. Sit down with them and make a voting plan. We need to make sure the voters who are with us don't stay home. We need every single vote. And join us, please, in making those phone calls.
Thanks, Susanna. Let's see, the next question. You said there might be actions for us to take in the time before the winner is declared. What might those be?
So that's going to depend on the scenario we're in, but it could be something like calling on election certification officials and making sure that they're doing their jobs to certify the election, ballot curing, vote canvass monitoring, movement marches. To hear more, you can join us on November 6th when we do another town hall, and we'll be talking about our specific calls to action and next steps to take, and we can drop that in the chat again. I think I didn't hear your question, but I think you were asking me about ballot curing.
Yes.
Perfect. So ballot curing, it's kind of like what it sounds like. Curing something is to fix something. So many ballots might be rejected for small curable errors, things that are easy to fix. And it's going to be different by jurisdiction how these are dealt with, but often there are volunteers who can help notify people that, hey, your signature was slightly wrong. You need to resubmit your ballot or whatever that might be. So in elections that are really close, that can be a really important piece of work that has to happen.
Great, thank you. Let's see, another question is Sierra Club coordinating with other environmental groups such as NRDC, NWF, and other organizations? Susanna.
Oh, yes,
Sarah,
Susanna,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oops, you're on mute again.
Our PAC coordinator Nidhi Khanna has the job of looking at all those coordinated campaigns. So there are efforts to do that, as well as holding coordinated phone banking and letter writing as well. So the organizations that they mentioned, those are our coalition partners mostly. Sarah, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I know that we're always working with other groups. The chapter during election cycles, we focus on at the group level. A lot of our groups have local partners that are county specific. So we go all the way from the larger environmental groups like NRDC to statewide ones like League of Women Voters, to even smaller ones that are county based. So we're definitely out there. We're coordinating. We're talking with our partners, because when you talk to partners, you are broadening your scope and you're making your voice even louder. So.
Well, and I really appreciate Jen talking about the importance of the down ballot and local races. How do I find if there's a chapter near me?
Yeah, so I think you can see at the bottom of the screen that there is actually a website, sierraclub.org/chapters. So if you go there, you can actually see all your chapters, and generally you can either navigate just a little bit. You'll either see it listed as politics or endorsements somewhere in the drop-down menus. And in those spaces, you usually see the full list of all of the candidates. And we go everywhere from water reclamation district races to park districts, to the state legislatures and congressional candidates. So you should be able to get a pretty good sense of the pro-environment champs that are in your state, up and down the ticket.
Great. And I think one final question here. How do I get good messaging to share on social media? That's a great question. Join the Truth Tellers team. They'll be sharing posts with you every week, messages to amplify, truth to get out there. Again, it's sc.org/truth. Wow. I want to thank all our panelists for sharing their insights tonight. And thanks to all the participants who have joined this live stream and and for asking such great questions. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired. And as we wrap up, I want to reiterate the many ways that you can get involved. Join us in making calls, again, using sc.org/call PA or sc.org/call MI to sign up. Join us on the November 6th town hall to hear from Sierra Club national and chapter experts about the election results and what comes next. You can sign up at sc.org/Our Voices Matter, and you'll see those links in the chat. Again, invite you to join the Climate Truth Tellers team to fight myths and disinformation at sc.org/truth, or donate to Sierra Club Independent Action using, again, the link sc.org/donate-SCIA. With that, we're going to close. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We know there's so much more to come as we work together to protect people and our planet. Thank you, panelists. Thanks to our team behind the scenes helping to support this live stream as well. Have a great evening.